What's going on? Super Nintendo here. We're going to be looking at some of my favorite Nintendo Switch games from 2021. There were a lot of games that came out. There's a lot of games that came out years ago that are still worth checking out, but I just wanted to focus on three games that came out this year on the Nintendo Switch. Let's go ahead and jump right in. We're totally starting off with game number one, which is Loop Hero. Loop Hero is a roguelite where you're sitting here. It looks very simplistic in terms of graphics and what they got going on, but there's a lot more to it once you dive into it. So they got the loop is right here with you going around this path, which is different every time. So the way the loop is set up, you get cards, and you can use those cards at any time. You can either build them up, pick which ones you want for either yourself or for your surroundings. But what happens here is you're going to realize that these creatures that you are fighting are coming from things that you put in town and along your loop. And you end up at the campsite, and it's like, okay, I can either stop or keep going. And you bring all the resources back with you if you go back. If not, oy vey, it's a lot to remember. But if you don't go back and you die before you get back to camp, you lose a lot more of your materials, and you don't want to do that. So there's that. It's kind of like a um, pool, a give and take where you can just put everything that you get down on the ground as you get it, and then what happens is the enemies will end up getting a lot. You'll have a lot more enemies to fight, and so when you have these enemies that you want to fight, you, there's just so many enemies. And if you don't want to fight that many enemies, like this here, you'll see you put that down, and then next time I come through the loop, as you can see in the top left, it's the day, each day that passes. So each day that passes, you're going to realize like the enemies reset, more enemies come. You might find that the more stuff you put down, more enemies are, you can set that there, and then the more items you put down in terms of like mountains and groves off to the side will keep growing, and you end up getting more valuables but harder enemies. And then when you're done, you can retreat, head back to camp, and then you got your camp here. And while you're at the camp, you can build it, expand it, and it's all from the materials that you get throughout the runs. So you can end up getting a bunch of stuff that will end up either letting you start your expedition with armor, or eventually, which is not too hard, but eventually you will see that you can get new characters. So you start off as a warrior, then you go ahead and you can do your run with a rogue or the necromancer, and they all have benefits, pluses and minuses for each one. And then they each have their own deck. You can have up to, four decks, and pick what you want, because you can have a certain number of points. And then once you've got your points, you're like, okay, let's go. We're going to go ahead and do this run again. And then you have to keep going until the enemy bar. You have to keep going till the enemy bar fills up. Once the enemy bar fills up, bada bing, bada bang, badow. and the enemy bar will fill up, and the enemy bar fills up, which, by the way, I think I've said enemy bar about 8 or 9 times, but the Oblivion lets you destroy either something you put down or destroy an enemy that is on the field. And once you fill up the danger bar at the bottom, what happens is you will realize that then the boss will show up. And once the boss shows up, it's go time. You can either decide to fight the boss, or you're like, because usually by the time the boss shows up, you have a bunch of supplies. So you're like, okay, I don't want to lose to this boss just to lose all these supplies. So I think what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and give it up. Give it up. I'm just going to go home, take my stuff, and then build up my stats and go from there. And then if you're having a really good run and you think you can beat the boss, then you're like, okay, this is it. Boom, you beat the boss, you move on to the next chapter. And that is why I think Loop Hero is one of my favorite games on the Switch from 2021. Not only in docked, but handheld as well. It's a great game. It's got touch controls. It's fantastic. Let's move on. Okay, so next up we got Chicory. Chicory is a wonderful game. Just came out from Indie World, and it's been on other platforms, mainly PC and PS4, PS5 earlier in the year, but now it is on the Switch, and it is easily one of my favorite games of the year. It is fantastic. You run around as your the the dog of the story, which originally this game was called Draw Dog, and you walk around with this paintbrush. You can paint things. You can paint them however you want. Well, whatever color. You are using the paintbrush to find, and it's basically like a Legend of Zelda top down Zelda game where you are using the paintbrush to do different quests and different challenges, whether it be, oh, I need to do this with this paintbrush. I need to keep going and see what happens. And if that happens, what you're going to want to do is um, you can dress up your dog. You can walk around, figure out puzzles. One thing that I think most people don't talk about is the HD rumble. The HD rumble is so good in this game. It is so, while you brush around, each different surface has a different feel to it. So it rumbles ever so slightly different depending on which surface you paint your brush over. And that is whether it doesn't matter what color it is, it's just a matter of what brush you got going on. And you can change the colors, you can paint everything different colors. You can at any time go through, look at the time lapse of each area, and you go through, you fight bosses, solve puzzles. You are going around painting this world and bringing the color back to not only the world but people's lives. It is a great game. I recommend it to everyone that likes good games. This is on the Nintendo Switch. If you're it's got also, I forgot to mention, it does have motion controls, and it also has touch controls. So if you're playing in handheld, it's got really good touch controls. Definitely recommend it. It is without a doubt one of the best games I played all year, and it's just so good. So, you know what we're going to do? We're going to hop in to the last game. Let's check out the last game for this video. It is a doozy. Here we go. So, here we go. Last game, Unsighted. It is, let me just tell you something. Unsighted is, without a doubt, one of the best. I think it's probably definitely one of the biggest hidden gems of 2021. And I just don't know what it is. I think there's just a lot of people that either didn't want to check it out or were just like, I don't know about this. It might not be for me. It could also be because it is on the Xbox Game Pass. So there could be people that went ahead and checked that out instead of picking up the game on the, oh my goodness, instead of picking up the game on Nintendo Switch. But it is really good. You run around, one thing that it does, like, so once you get past the tutorial area, which we're not going to get past before the end of this video, but you've got different people helping you out as the game goes on. And with those people helping you out, the number of things you can do with, like, just look at that pixel, like the animation. Oh, so good. But yeah, so you're going to play this game when you're, it's, there's just a bunch of materials that you're going to be picking up. You're going to be fighting. You're probably, if you're anything like me, going to be dying a lot. That's what I end up doing, is dying a lot. You can use the oh geez, see, it's not good. You're going to want to dodge. Dodge is your friend. Dodge was, could have been my friend, but instead I dodged into the attack, which you can see there. And they got stamina bars. They got the one interesting thing. So you're dealing with, not only is yourself a robot, but you're also, everyone helping you out are robots as well. And one thing that they have in this game is the uh, batteries that the robots are a part of. The robots are in these, using these batteries. And I need the passcode. I forget what the passcode is. I gotta go and get it. But anyway, they got these batteries for the enemies and the materials that you're picking up, and then your allies. Like, let's say you got the shopkeeper. They have a battery, and that timer is running down at all times. So what you need to do, party animals, is you, oh boy, you need to go ahead and set it up so, let's say their battery's getting low, you need to give them something to refill their battery, recharge their battery. And if you don't, then, well, they're gone. You're just not going to have them anymore. So it's like a lot of time management. And there is, so let's say you're like, oh my goodness, that sounds like a lot. That sounds like a lot. I'm not sure if that's something I'm ready for, which is totally understandable. I like to play my games and not stress about timers. I like to play my games and not stress about, like, going through the same area 4 or 5 times. Oh my goodness. Um I just don't want to go through the same areas 4 or 5 times and find myself wondering, like, oh gosh, I could have been playing something else, but instead I keep dying at this. And you don't want that. So, I mean, maybe some people want it. I don't want that. That's not something I want. And so if you don't want that, I'll show you what you can do. You can go, uh, maybe it's into the options. Okay. Into the options we go, and you can, this is like the tutorial area, but um, if you're not sure if the game's for you in terms of that, geez, I don't even know why I'm rambling on so much about this, but you can go into your settings, change things. They got a lot of accessibility options in terms of what they have and what they don't have. Like you can turn the timer off so that um, you don't want the timer for your allies to keep going down or yourself. You don't want to have to worry about the stress about the time of the batteries, right? So if you don't want that, it's fine. You don't have to have it. Just it's not something you need to worry about. And the game is like, okay, that's fine. You don't need to worry about this. You don't want it in your life. You don't want that stress. So you turn it off, and then the timer meters are gone, and there's no more timer. And it's definitely something that you might find yourself wondering about. And oh, here, okay, here we go. So they have, you can like change the text size. You can have change the audio, but then you can also they got the speed running clock. They also have um, the accessibility mode, like explore mode. So here it is. You can disable the character timers. You want forgiving combat? We got it. You want invincibility so that you never die? You don't have to worry about it. You want increased stamina because I just died there fighting that creature. And the difference is it's basically just play it at your own pace. Not every game does this. Some games like to keep things um hunky dory. They like to keep things where they were, and they just like to play the game the way the developer wanted. And that certainly is an option. You can pick the mode that they have set up for I believe what they call experienced gamers. You also, yeah, when you die, you get your bolts. You can go back to where you died and then get your bolts back. Um, but turning on that, like just the invincibility, it makes one less thing I've got to worry about, and which is fine by me because the more I can like I do a lot of multitasking where I'm sitting here playing a game, and while I'm playing that game, I will also be watching a show or talking to friends or who knows what. And I don't feel like solely focusing on the game. Which, by the way, look at that rain. Such good rain. But anyway, yeah. It's something that you will find yourself um, thinking about, at least changing the settings um, about for the game, and it's definitely one of my favorite games of the year. It is without a doubt one of the best. That is Unsighted. That is on the Nintendo Switch right now. And yes, the game runs well in handheld and in docked mode. And it is fantastic. So that's three games I think are worth your time on the Nintendo Switch in 2021. I'm going to come back next week with some more games that I think are worth your time. I'll probably even do a little video about the best Nintendo Switch games each week for what games are on sale. So if there's going to be a lot of games on sale starting in 2022. I'm going to be talking about the best games on sale each week, the ones you don't want to miss out on, and we'll go from there. All right, thank you very much. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this video. If you make it to the end of it, let me know. If you want me to have more content like this, let me know. And if you hate this, feel free to let me know that too. All right, thank you very much. Have a great day. Toodaloo.